The noise is the first thing that reminds me I'm alive. Not the city noise, not the traffic down below. It's the noise of silence. The high-pitched hum that fills the void of a luxury apartment on the 20th floor, a place that feels more like a mausoleum than a home. My name is Arthur, or rather, the name the world knows is a winter. The author of the books everyone reads at Christmas. Stories that sell millions, that turn into movies, that fill shelves with shiny covers, and my name stamped in gold. I hate that name. I hate every letter. I hate the man it created. A ghost living inside me. A fat, happy, fictional man who signs books I barely remember writing. I haven't left this apartment in 10 years. 10 years since the last press conference, since the last fake handshake, since the last photo-ready smile. My editor, Mark, says this only adds to my mystique. He says the reclusive writer is a literary genre in itself. Mark doesn't understand. Mark doesn't understand that I'm not reclusive for the sake of art. I'm hiding out of fear. Fear of the man I've become. Fear that if I take off the mask of a winter, there will be nothing underneath. The routine that wasn't normal became my life. Waking up, looking out the window at the city, moving without me, sitting in front of the typewriter, an old Remington my father gave me, and churning out another 100 pages of Christmas magic from an audience I don't know and who doesn't know me. The words came out, but the soul stayed behind. It was like bleeding onto a page. Every story about family, about forgiveness, about the Christmas spirit, was a knife I turned against myself, because I had none of that. I only had the echo of my own silence and the smell of old paper. The wound that whispered started with a letter. It wasn't a fan letter. Mark filtered those. This one was different. It came by regular mail, in a simple, yellowed envelope. The sender was a lawyer. It was about a neighbor, a woman named Clara, who lived on the floor below with her son, Leo. The letter said their rent was 3 months overdue, and they would be evicted 2 days after Christmas. 2 days after Christmas. The irony burned me like acid. The man who wrote about the joy of Christmas was about to be indirectly responsible for taking Christmas away from a child. I couldn't get it out of my head. For the first time in years, I went out. Not out of the building, but out of my apartment. I went to the front door and peeked through the peephole. I saw the door to apartment 1901. I saw a small, crumpled paper star nailed to the door. And I heard something. A laugh, a child's laugh. A laugh so pure, so free, that it felt like a punch to my gut. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the typewriter, and for the first time, the words didn't come. There was only the white of the page and the sound of my own breathing. The secret that wasn't a secret was that I was already planning my disappearance. I had an offshore account, a fake passport, a plan to vanish on New Year's Day, to leave a winter behind like an empty shell. Mark didn't know, of course. To him, I was just his golden goose, an asset to be managed. I heard him on the phone sometimes, talking to Hollywood producers, laughing, saying, "Oh, art. He's a genius, but an eccentric genius. Leave him alone and the magic happens." He wasn't selling my books, he was selling my prison. The encounter that wasn't chance happened on the night of December 23rd. I needed air. I went to the small 24-hour grocery store on the corner, hoodie pulled over my face, hands stuffed in my pockets. I bought bread and milk, things a normal man would buy. In line, a woman in front of me was having trouble with her card. The machine denied. The cashier, a tired kid, looked on with impatience. "That's all, ma'am. It's not going through." I saw her face twist in humiliation, and then I recognized her. It was Clara, from the lawyer's letter. "Never mind then," she murmured, taking a small bread roll and trying to smile. "Just this one." I didn't think, I just acted. I stepped forward and put my card in the machine. "Let me pay," I said, my voice hoarse from disuse. She turned, eyes full of surprise and a little fear. "No, you don't need to, Please," I interrupted. "It's Christmas." The cashier rang up the whole purchase: bread, milk, a small chocolate, an orange. She looked at me, and for a second, our eyes met. She didn't see a winter. She saw just a man in a hood, with tired eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." I just nodded and left the store, my heart pounding in my chest. I helped her. The man who only lived inside his own head, touched someone's life. And for an instant, the ringing of the silence vanished. The silence that said everything came when I got home and saw the package. It was a huge box that Mark had left with the doorman. Inside, a Santa Claus suit, very expensive, with a real beard, leather boots, and a note: "Art, my dear fellow. The publisher is donating a fortune to the children's hospital. We just need you to appear on your balcony on Christmas Day at 6 p.m. to wave to the cameras. 10 minutes, that's all. Let's be heroes. Heroes." He wanted me to sell my soul for 10 minutes of television. He wanted me to wear the uniform of the man I hated most, the symbol of the lie that was my life. I picked up the suit. The wool was soft, heavy. It smelled new, like a factory. And I had an idea. A terrible, crazy, perfect idea. On Christmas morning, I didn't wake up as a winter. I woke up as a man with a plan. I put on the suit. The beard scratched. The hat weighed me down. I looked in the mirror. It wasn't me. It was him. The ghost. The liar. And I smiled. For the first time in years, the smile was mine. I took a bag. Inside, I put all my savings in cash. Over $100,000. And something else. A letter. A letter I wrote that night on the old Remington. The hardest letter I ever wrote. I went down to apartment 1901. My hands were shaking inside the red gloves. I knocked on the door. Clara opened it. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. "Santa Claus?" she whispered, and little Leo came running from behind her, stopping abruptly, his mouth hanging open. I walked in, uninvited, closing the door behind me. "I know it's late," I said, making my voice as deep as I could, the voice of the ghost. "But the sleigh is running late," and I put the bag on her table. What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "It's the end of your debt," I said, "and a new beginning." She opened the bag and saw the money. Her knees gave out, and she sat on a chair, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Leo, not understanding, just picked up $100 bill and looked at it like it was a golden ticket. "But why?" she managed to say. "I'm not the real Santa Claus," I said, and my voice cracked. "I'm just a man who writes stories. But this one needs to be true." And then I handed her the letter. "Don't read it now," I said. "Promise you'll only read it after I'm gone." She promised. I knelt down and looked into Leo's eyes. "And you, little one," I said, "promise you'll always believe in magic, even when you can't see it." He nodded, eyes full of tears and wonder. I stood up, looked at Clara one last time, and left. I went up to my apartment, and I waited. At 6 p.m. sharp, I was on the balcony. The cameras were down below. The spotlights blinded me. I waved. I smiled. The man in red, the hero. Mark was down below, giving me a thumbs up. I saw him. and I knew he had no idea what I had done. The twists came the next morning. Mark banged on my door with a fury I'd never seen. He wasn't smiling. "You're an idiot," he screamed, throwing a newspaper at me. On the front page, my photo dressed as Santa, and the headline, "The Mysterious A. Winter gives fortune to anonymous neighbor on Christmas. What did you do?" he snarled. It was supposed to be a donation to the hospital, a PR event. Now it's a scandal. People are asking who this woman is. The press is camping outside her door. "I don't care," I said calmly. "Of course you don't care," he shouted. "You ruined everything. The image, the brand. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to tell everyone who you really are, a lunatic." And then he delivered the second twist. "I know about the island, Arthur. I know about the passport. Did you think I wasn't spying on you? You are my greatest asset. I own you." I looked at him. For the first time, I didn't see an editor. I saw an executioner, and I didn't feel fear. I felt pity. "Mark," I said, "you don't own me. You owned a ghost, and a ghost is finished." And the third twist came when he turned his back on me, furious. "You're going to regret this, Arthur. I will destroy you." He stopped at the door. "You know why your books sell, don't you? Why they are so perfect." He turned around with a cruel smile. "Because I rewrite them, yes. Every single one. What you send me is a rough draft, full of pain and melancholy. I strip away the pain. I add the shine. I add the magic. I am the real A. Winter, Arthur. You are just the ghost who produces the raw text." The world crumbled. My stories, my pain, my soul bled onto the page. Everything had been polished, sold, betrayed. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to feel. There was a void where my heart should have been. He left, slamming the door, and I was left alone in the silence. The ringing was back, but now it was different. It was mourning. For the man I thought I was, for the work I thought was mine. Minutes later, my doorbell rang. It was Clara. She was holding the letter. Her eyes were red from crying. "I read it," she said, walking in. "I read your letter. The letter I wrote. My confession. In it, I didn't sign as a Winter, I signed as Arthur. I told everything. About the fear, the prison, the emptiness. About the plan to disappear. And about the decision to use the Santa mask to do the only good thing the name A. Winter ever did. And at the end, I put an address. The address of a small house on a distant beach, where I could start over. "He knows," she said. "Mark. He called the radio station. He told them everything. Said you're a fraud, that your career is over." I nodded. "I knew. And then I called them too," she continued. "I read your letter. Live on air." My eyes went wide. "What?" "I read it," she said, her voice steady. "I read about the man behind the ghost, about the pain, about the truth, and Arthur. The phone hasn't stopped ringing. People, they aren't calling to curse at you, they're calling to say thank you. To say that they feel that way at Christmas too, that your story, your true story, helped them." She handed me her phone. The reporter was on the line. "Arthur? A Winter? It doesn't matter. Can we talk? What do you have to say about all this?" I took a deep breath. I looked at Clara. I looked at little Leo, who was holding my hand. And for the first time, I knew what to say. I say that the name is Arthur, and that this is my last story, the only one I truly wrote alone, and that it doesn't have a happy ending. It has a beginning. The silence that said everything was the following week. I didn't disappear. Not to the island. I stayed. Clara and Leo moved to a bigger apartment, paid for with the advance of my next book. the next true book. Mark lost his job, becoming a footnote in the story of a man who thought he could own another's soul. The subplot of The Neighbor Who Never Speaks was old Mr. Henderson from 1902, who always looked at me with suspicion. The day I moved out, he handed me a box of cookies. "I always knew there was a good man under that silence," he said. And the nurse who took care of my father in the hospital, who always brought me a card with a different quote, sent me one last one. On it, there was just one word: free. The internal cliffhanger was when, months later, I was packing the last boxes from my old apartment. I found an old cassette tape with the letter L handwritten on it. It was a tape I thought I had lost. I put it in the old Walkman, and I listened. It was my voice. At 12 years old, singing Silent Night, alone in my room. I had recorded it as a Christmas gift for my father before he got sick. He listened to it every night until the last day. I didn't know he had a son, but the photo, it was of me. The photo he kept in his wallet wasn't of him with me. It was just of me, smiling. The dialogue that killed or cured was the last conversation I had with Mark over the phone. "You destroyed me," he said. "No," I replied. "I set you free." And the other dialogue with Clara on the night we moved. "You aren't a winter," she said, "and you aren't Santa Claus." "Then who am I?" I asked. She smiled. "You are Arthur. And that is more than enough." The ending isn't an end, it's an embrace. Today, I no longer live in a luxury apartment. I live in a small house with a yard where Leo plants flowers. I write not Christmas stories, I write memories, I write the truth. And sometimes, at night, when the wind is cold, I take the old red suit from the back of the closet, not to wear, but to touch, to remember the ghost I was and the man I became. Because sometimes, the strongest love isn't what we give. It's what we allow ourselves to receive. The truth, forgiveness, a fresh start. If this story reminded you of the mask you wear, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell. Because Christmas isn't about the ghosts we wear for the world. It's about the person we are when no one is looking. See you in the next video, family. Keep your heart open, even if it's hidden behind a white beard and a fake smile. Because the truth, like snow, always arrives, and it covers everything with the peace you never knew you deserved.